he left behind a legacy that continues to affect people to this very day.
Father Damien dedicated himself selflessly to serve the people of Kalaupapa who were afflicted by leprosy and were abandoned by the society. He transformed the lifeless and godless Kalaupapa into a community of compassion and love. Father Damien, born Joseph de Velster in 1840 in Belgium, devoted 16 years of his life to those suffering from Hansen's disease in Kalaupapa. He set sail to Hawaii on October 1863 and arrived in Honolulu on March 19, 1864. 2 months after his arrival, on May 21, 1864, he was ordained at the Cathedral of Our Lady of Peace to priesthood and took the name Damien. While Father Damien was serving in several Catholic parishes across Hawaii, the Kingdom of Hawaii was facing a public health crisis. From 250,000 to 300,000 native Hawaiians, only 31,000 remained in 1896 because of smallpox, cholera, influenza, and other undiscovered diseases such as leprosy, also known as the Hansen's disease. Lepers suffer a disease in the skin, attack in the nervous system, and inflame organs and skin which disfigures their body. At that time, leprosy was incurable. Out of fear, the Hawaiian legislature and King Kamehameha V, King of Hawaii in 1865 approved an act to prevent the spread of leprosy. The law set apart land to isolate people believed capable of spreading the leprosy disease. Incurable lepers from Hawaii and across the globe were sent to Kalaupapa on the island of Molokai permanently to stem the spread of the disease. Wall cliffs separated the land from the rest of the island, which gives no possibility of escape, and the isolated lepers from the rest of the world. Because the Kingdom of Hawaii did not provide sufficient food supplies and proper health care for the lepers, Father Damien volunteered along with 3 other priests to go to Kalaupapa. Within 2 days of his arrival, Father Damien decided to stay permanently to spend the rest of his life serving his God and his most rejected brothers and sisters. On May 10, 1873, he was introduced as the new pastor to the 816 lepers living in Kalaupapa. Father Damien spent his few weeks of stay under a tree until he could build himself a small house. At the time of his arrival, the people were already in a miserable situation. Father Damien restored a sense of personal worth and dignity on each of the lepers through attending their spiritual and emotional needs. He taught the lepers how to pray and encouraged them to have hope in God despite of difficulties. He built chapels such as St. Philomena Church and Our Lady of Seven Sorrows with the help of residents, and he converted half of the population. Regardless of their religion, he attended their needs.
So he is a hero not just for Catholic people, but for all people in Hawaii. He's very well known, and of course, not just as a man of faith, but as a great humanitarian, someone who brought order where there was chaos, someone who brought hope where there was great despair.
Father Damien did not only accomplish his priestly duties, he did not only baptize converts, administer last rites, and build churches, but he also built hospitals and orphanages, bandaged sores and wounds, hammered together coffins, and dug graves. For more than 10 years, he worked every day from dawn to dark to attend the settlement's social and physical needs. He said in one of his letters, "Manual work is very good for my health, and I feel well and happy among my unfortunate sick people." He touched the lepers and treated them with utmost respect, unlike any other guest doctors who used canes to examine their patients and lift bandages.
He gave his life to people who were rejected, and he brought an upliftment. He brought a certain excitement. He brought novelty things into their lives, whether it was starting a band, starting sports teams, having little rodeos, the gardening, the fishing. He brought activity that enhanced the life of the patients who were going to be confined on the peninsula of Kalaupapa and Kalawao until they died.
Under Father Damien's leadership, basic laws were enforced and the residents were provided food, shelter, and education. Because of this, most of the residents loved him. The Board of Health and his superiors, on the contrary, remonstrated him because he ignored the isolation policy. His visits to the healthy residents on the top side of Molokai and Honolulu displeased him. They believed that Father Damien violated the government's policy on segregation between the infected and the healthy. Despite of this, he continued building churches and bringing sacraments to the healthy. His superiors were also distressed because the press made it seem as if Father Damien was the only Sacred Heart's missionary willing to serve the settlement.
We see his leadership in the way he challenged the government in Honolulu. Indeed, the way he challenged the leadership of the diocese, that the bishop, the way he challenged his own religious superior to help the people here. And so he wasn't concerned about what people thought about him. Really wasn't concerned about that. He was concerned about doing for his people whatever needed to be done.
Moreover, to improve the standard living of the settlement, Father Damien also raised leprosy awareness around the world without the approval of his superiors. As a result, food, medicines, clothing, and all sorts of help for his mission were brought to the settlement. Father Damien's compassionate leadership, despite criticism, earned him a recognition from the Hawaiian government. Because of Father Damien's efforts in alleviating the stress and mitigating the sorrows of the unfortunate, he was awarded the Hawaiian Order of Knight Commander of the Royal Order of Kalakaua in 1881. In 1884, Father Damien contracted leprosy, but refused the cure because it would lead to leaving his fellow lepers on the island. He died 5 years later in 1889 and became known to the world as Damien the Leper. On June 1995, Pope John Paul II declared him Blessed Damien, Servant of God, Servant of Humanity. On October 11, 2009, Pope Benedict XVI raised Father Damien to the rank of sainthood, making Hawaii the only state with a canonized saint. Father Damien left a legacy of compassion that the world, especially the people of Hawaii, would never forget. Clinics, centers, organizations, charities, schools, churches, and even villages worldwide bear his name.
I believe that there are many people who are inspired to do much good, developing their talents, reaching out, or affirming others in need because of someone like Damien Marianne.
He became an inspiration for millions of people all over the world. People turn to him for miraculous care. He is the patron of those with leprosy, outcasts, HIVs, AIDS, and the state of Hawaii. Because of his selflessness and compassion, he is cited as an example of how society should minister patients with diseases. Furthermore, thousands of visitors worldwide hike down or ride mules down the steep 3.5-mile trail to Kalapapa to pay tribute to the settlement's tragic history and pray to Father Damien.
Part of the beginnings of the legacy, and then this place became better known. People realized the needs of the settlement, and over the years, the condition of the settlement improved. The condition of the service done to the patients improved. To today, where we still have 9 patients living here, they enjoy living here. This is where they want to live and spend out the rest of their lives. And that is all, at least partly, because of Damien, what he started here, and was continued in his name, as well as in the name of Mother Marianne.
Despite the endless obstacles Father Damien had faced, he responded to leprosy with great love and compassion rather than fear.
Of Damien's life on Molokai will touch individuals, will touch society, and it will touch the world.